Well, welcome everyone to the Department of Counselor Education and Rehabilitation information session. I'm Dr. Beckton and I serve as the department chair. Again, we just want to thank you for being here, and we are recording the information session today. So by recording this, we will post it on the department website, so you will have access to it. Please feel free to go back, use it as a refresher to share with colleagues who also may be interested in the department. So we are just thrilled to hear of your interest, and our intent for today is that you leave knowledgeable, you leave comfortable, and fully equipped to submit an application to one of our programs. Next slide, please, April. So today we just have a brief overview about the department, about our programs, and then we will most certainly have time for Q&A. So please feel free to take notes as we run through the information session. Next. So here's just a quick snapshot of our programs, and you will have the opportunity to hear from each of our coordinators and our faculty members today. We have the MS in counseling, which has two options, the option in school counseling, as well as the option in student affairs college counseling. We have the marriage and family child counseling program, which is a 60-unit program. We also have the Masters of Science in Clinical Rehabilitation and Mental Health Counseling program, which has two options as well, option in clinical rehabilitation counseling, and then an option in clinical mental health counseling as of fall 2022. And one of the unique things about our department is that we have a credential that's primarily tagged with our school counseling program. And you'll hear more about that, which is the Pupil Personnel Services credential. So again, as we go throughout the information session today, please feel free to ask questions. You'll hear a lot about our credentialing, our specializations, our expertise. So write all of those questions down and we'll make sure that you have answers to them. Overall, we are all counselors, but from there, we specialize, and that's where you see the specific program names. But when we think about professional identity, it is professional counselors, all right? And we all share common passions in that. April? And we just wanted to share a quick snapshot of our wonderful faculty. So here's our department faculty. We actually took this picture a few weeks ago at our department retreat. Next slide. And I have the honor to introduce our wonderful program coordinators. And I believe to start us off will be our program coordinator for the Marriage, Family, and Child Counseling Program, Dr. Mandy Greaves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Greaves, and like Dr. Beckton said, I am the coordinator for the Marriage, Family, Child Counseling Program. And I'm going to go over a brief overview of our program, a little bit about our faculty, and just kind of general information. And please feel free to ask your questions, write them down so that I can help you through them. Okay. That is our website right there on the slide for the MFCC program. And go ahead, April. This is our program faculty. We have Dr. Christopher Lucy. He's on sabbatical this semester. Then we have Dr. Kyle Weir, Dr. Lee, Dr. Crane, Dr. Barea, and then me. And then Dr. Dan Smith over there, this will be his last semester and he will be fully retired. So that's just a little bit about us. We are CACREP accredited, which is a national accreditation for counselor education. We are California Board of Behavioral Sciences compliant, which means that we have additional requirements in order that when you graduate from our program, you will be eligible for the licensure process through the Board of Behavioral Sciences. And our program is a minimum of 60 units, and it is completed in 5 semesters. We do have a cohort system, which means that we admit 18 students every semester. Students are expected to take the courses with their cohort, except for electives. So that means that we tell you your schedule. So we tell you what courses to take. There's reserved seats for you. And it is a full-time program. Sorry. This is our general roadmap. We have two roadmaps. This one is for if you just want the MFCC. As you can see, every semester is broken down into what courses you need to take, the different achievements that you need to make each semester, which is where the milestones are, just to keep you on track with where you're at, as well as, sorry, I just wanted to make sure. Yes, so you can see that all these courses are in order, and we'll make sure that you have these courses available to you. So it's not like you have to fight for registration. This is an additional, if you would like to take some additional courses to become eligible for the LPCC license through BBS, the Board of Behavioral Sciences. That's something separate. I can go over in more detail later, or if anybody has any questions about licensing, that's something I can talk about later as well. So this is about our marriage and family therapist license. So once you take all of our classes in the program, you graduate, you are eligible to apply for your associate's registration with the state of California. Once you graduate from the program, it doesn't mean that you're automatically licensed. Like, there are so many more steps to do through the state that we have no control over. Our job is just to prepare you for that process. Go ahead, April. This is if you want to take those additional courses, you can get an additional license in professional clinical counseling. As I said before, it's 3 extra classes. It really doesn't expand your time in the program at all. Those classes often count as electives for our program anyway. So go ahead, April. These are some of our graduation rates. So our projected job growth for marriage and family therapists in the state of California is about 22%. So we're expecting some growth here. We did a alumni survey, and within the first 6 months, 80% of our graduates who were actively looking for jobs got jobs. And then these are some examples of some of the places that our alumni are currently working. Go ahead, April. Thank you. So you're going to hear about Fresno Family Counseling Center occasionally. I'm going to just briefly mention this is one of the unique features of our program that a lot of programs throughout the United States don't really have yet, is that we have a counseling center that is made for our students. It is a training facility where you would actually do counseling with people of the community. We have technology to make it a very interactive experience for learning and receiving feedback. Go ahead, April. Okay, so that's it for me. Thanks, you guys. I'm going to hang out, and I can answer questions about the MFCC program later.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Dedoğlu. I hope everyone is having a great Friday and getting ready for a cooler weekend. So I'm coordinating the school counseling and PPS programs. This is the website of our program. I'm going to share this with you in the chat box because I know you cannot click on this link on there. Please feel free, if you guys have any questions at the end, you can definitely find my contact information there if you don't have a chance to ask your questions, or if you want to go further and just take a look at our website, the link is there. Can we go to the next slide? So this is our school counseling program faculty, the core faculty, Dr. Sharma, me, and then Dr. Rollins. Also, we have, in the next slide, we have Dr. Valencia, who is in the Faculty Early Retirement Program. Also, we have a lot of adjunct faculty, Jenny Birch, Mika Comey, Kimberly Lewis, Gregory Lomack, and Susan Ann Meadows. So these are our like faculty who teaches the courses in general. Yeah, the next slide, please, April. Specifically, our program is designed for people who would like to work in a K through 12 setting as a school counselor. So if you wanna be a school counselor as your career goal, our program is for you. At the end of our program, you will be getting your PPS credential, which means that it is going to be the main credential that will allow you to work as a school counselor in a public or private schools. Our program is 48 units program, and it is 2 years, 4 semesters. In your second year, you also do your internship, and it is you will be having a lot of hands-on experience in your second year, and then you graduate at the end of your 4th year with your PPS credential, which means you're start working. The next slide, please, April. Our program is accredited by 2 different agencies. The California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, CTC. Also, we recently get another accreditation, which is Association for Advancing Quality in Educator Preparation, AQUEP. So, which means that our program, we are putting a lot of effort to keep up that quality that they require. So we always evaluate our program, collect data, try to improve all the time based on their standards and requirements. I think this is one of the unique aspects of our program, because again, there are 2 different agencies keep evaluating us. So we are keeping up the good work. Next slide, please, April. I wanted to include the list of courses that you are going to take in this program. On the left side, you will see the core courses that you take about group counseling, assessment and counseling. These are some general courses that all counseling students take. On the right side, you will see school counseling related courses. For example, you learn about consultation, you learn about organization of counseling services in schools. So those are some course names. I want you to know what kind of a type of topics that you will be learning in the program. This information is on the website also. You can just take a look at the curriculum and you will see these course names. Can we go to the next slide, April? If you think school counseling is a career, good news that the growth rate is increasing, which means that there are going to be still more job openings in the future, in 10 years. Do you guys know what is the ideal student and counselor ratio in schools? You can think about your own school counseling experience in high school or something. What is the ideal ratio of school counselor versus students? Have any idea? Any guess? I'm checking the chat box. 200 students to a counselor. It is close. The ASCA School Counselor Association is suggesting every 250 students should have at least 1 school counselor. Now we are far below that number, right? I think it really depends. I didn't check the California data yet, but it should be right now much more than 250 students. It should be maybe currently we are covering maybe 600, 500 students for each counselor. So that's why you will be needed all the time in the future. And there's a project that higher employment numbers in Fresno County. So these are some statistics for you. Before I wrap up my part of the presentation, I also want to remind you that when you are dreaming about your career, make sure that what you want to do. If you want to be the school counselor, choose this program. Because in the past, we receive lots of students who would like to do the school counseling, but they think that they can just get the PPS credential easily. So they go to other programs and then they apply for the PPS credential. I just want to clarify that. If you want to be the school counselor, come to school counseling program. In the past, again, there were some students, they went to do like SACC school, college counseling and student affairs. And then they applied for the PPS credential and they graduated with both kind of like both PPS credential and then the SACC. But now we are trying to eliminate that number. The spots are very limited for PPS, only PPS credential program. We are only admitting like couple people, like 2-3 people who really will need the PPS credential. Just again, make sure that you are choosing the right career. If you want to be the school counselor, come to school counseling program. That's it. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, I will be waiting. At the end, we can answer your questions.
And thank you, Dr. Dediolu, for that point, because using that same example, student affairs college counseling is typically the professional identity is higher education, right? And you think about school counseling, K through 12. So we really want to encourage students to think about what their potential career goals are, do some research, reach out to faculty, because that is one of the number one things that we're going to talk about. That identity piece is quite important to us when we're reading applications.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for mentioning that, Dr.
Yeah, one more suggestion for students who are trying to decide which program that they want to choose. Do some shadowing. Reach out to people who are currently in that job and then do like 1 or 2 days of shadowing of what they are doing, what their daily life look like. So then you can decide. It is I highly encourage you to do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Sue Zhang, and I am the coordinator for the Student Affairs and College Counseling Program, or for short, we just call it SACC. So if you keep hearing SACC, that's the Student Affairs and College Counseling Program. Next slide, April. And so in our program, we have 2 amazing faculty, myself, and then also Dr. Young Lu are full-time faculty in the SACC program. And then not pictured here is Emily Paradise, who is a longtime lecturer who often will teach some of our specialization courses in student affairs as well. And so a little bit about the SACC program is that our program prepares individuals for careers in a higher education setting as student affairs educators. So as Dr. Becton also mentioned right before I came on, is the professional identities related to the K-12 setting or the higher ed setting. So this degree is for the higher ed setting. And so we are also a 48-unit counseling-based student affairs preparation, graduate preparation program. And so that's usually what makes our program unique and different from other traditional student affairs graduate programs. And so whereas most traditional student affairs graduate programs focus on like administration, leadership, we focus on providing you with the counseling skills to address the holistic development and success of college students. And we do that by integrating experiential learning opportunities throughout your time in the program. So you're not just learning and discussing the counseling theories and concepts in class, but you will also have the opportunities to practice them during counseling practicum and also applying your counseling skills to a student affairs functional area of your choice during the internship stage of the program. Next slide, April. And so as part of the SACC program, you are joining a community of peers and faculty that is very supportive of your growth, development, and overall success, not only during the program, but as well as when you transition into your professional roles and or doctoral program. So our SACC Graduate Student Association is very active in organizing like social, academic, and career-related activities, events, opportunities, and other opportunities throughout the academic year to build that sense of community. And so they are also very active on Instagram. If you haven't followed us, those are our handle and hashtag, but they're active in highlighting all of the accomplishments of our students, faculty, and alumni. So that's where you'll find out where and what type of jobs our current students, alumni are being hired for, awards that are being received, conference presentations that are being delivered by our students, faculty, and alumni, and other accomplishments. Next slide. And so in this last slide, I wanted to address one of the major questions or big questions prospective students usually have is, what can I do with this SACC degree? And so if you think about all the different programs, offices, departments on a college campus that support student success or student development and success, that's where our graduates can work. And so, for example, academic advising, career services, campus activities, financial aid, TRIO programs, admissions, outreach, recruitment, just to name a few, but anything that supports students, that's where the opportunity lies there. And so really quickly, our graduates are specifically working in different positions across different functional areas in student affairs, different higher education systems or institutions here in our state, but also across our nation. So your degree, your SACC degree will allow you to be competitive for positions within the state, but also anywhere else in the country that you may also be interested in relocating to as well. And so here in the state, I showed on the slide here, many of our alumni are working at the community colleges here within the state, our Cal State system, CSU, our UC system, private institutions, and then those are just a list of some of the states where some of our alumni are employed at. And then specifically, the last thing I want to highlight is the California community colleges. So the CCC that's highlighted there, I highlighted that because it meets the minimum education requirement for counselor positions in the California community college system. So if you want to become a community college counselor, the SACC program would be the program to consider. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and then I'll be sticking around if anyone has questions as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I and all my colleagues appreciate your presence today as you get to learn more about our different programs in our department. And I'm here to talk to you about the Clinical Rehabilitation and Mental Health Counseling Program. You can go to the next slide, please. And in this slide, you have a picture of our core faculty. We do have Dr. Tu with us today, and also Dr. Henderson is part of our faculty as well, and me. Dr. Castillo, Yulenis Castillo, and I serve as the program coordinator for this specific specialty. We also have other program faculty. Dr. Becton is actually part of our program. However, of course, she has other responsibilities beyond the program, but she is considered to be part of the clinical rehabilitation faculty as well. And we have also other great adjunct part-time faculty who support the training, such as Dr. Kabatian, Dr. Bong, Professor Enian Istes, Professor Batushi, and Professor Conroe. They provide and they support the training of our students as well. Next slide, please. Dr. Tu.
Sorry, I was muted. So our program it's for students who would like to become a culturally competent counselors, either a mental health counselor or a rehabilitation counselor, because we have two concentrations, so you can choose either one depending on your own career goals. And there are lots of opportunities for both mental health counselor and rehab counselors. Basically, mental health counselor not only work with individuals, they also may work with families, couples, and groups, and they can also get specialized within a specific population, such as children, women, or older adults. And as a mental health counselor, you may work in a community-based health agency or hospitals. You may even run your own private practice. And for rehab counselor, the primary populations rehab counselors work with are people with disabilities, as young as in the transition age. So you may work with students with disabilities who are in their stages transitioning from high school to work or to college. And you will also work with adults with disabilities or chronic health conditions. So those are the primary populations rehab counselors will be working with. And as to work settings, as a rehab counselor, you may work in the state government vocational rehab agency or community-based rehab agency, including college settings. And some of rehab counselors do work in business settings, such as human resources or even insurance company for disability management. Okay, next slide, please.
So just to share with you a little bit about our program, some of the accomplishments, we are CACREP accredited. Well, I'll talk to you about that in just a second. We also have been ranked for, as you can see, the most recent is back in 2019, and we were ranked by the US News and World Reports as within top 30 in the nation. We are also considered to be one of the most affordable mental health colleges across the nation. That's also something to keep in mind. And of course, these are not necessarily only the accomplishments that we have as a program, but we wanted to share some with you today. You can go to the next slide. We do, as of fall 22, as of this semester, we do have 2 different concentrations. We have the clinical rehabilitation counseling pathway, which is CACREP accredited. And I do want to point out that both concentrations are clinical in nature. However, we have those two concentrations as an option, and you will have to choose an option if you were admitted to the program. One of them, of course, like I mentioned, is the clinical rehabilitation counseling pathway, which is CACREP accredited. And with this training, you'll be eligible to become a certified rehabilitation counselor. And you're also eligible for licensure as a licensed professional clinical counselor in the state of California as well. And as Dr. Tu mentioned, you'll be trained to work with individuals with disabilities. That includes all kinds of disabilities, of course. And you'll be trained to work in different rehabilitation agencies. And of course, you'll be exposed to specific rehabilitation coursework. The second option that we just started this fall 22 is the clinical mental health counseling pathway. And with, of course, as the name implies, with these concentrations, you'll be focusing much more on mental health disabilities or mental health conditions as compared to the clinical rehab, which has a more diverse training. And with the clinical mental health pathway, you'll be eligible to become a licensed professional clinical counselor as well in the state of California. And of course, you'll be prepared to work with individuals with different type of mental health disparities and mental health disabilities as well. And of course, you'll be trained to conduct assessment, provide diagnoses, and this will all happen in the different courses, the core courses, as well as those specific mental health counseling coursework. You can go to the next slide.
All right. So an important information to know about is the projected job outlook for both mental health counselors and rehab counselors. So employment of mental health counselor is projected to grow 23% from 2020 to 2030, which is very faster than the average for all other occupations. And this is a number obtained from federal government and the U.S. Bureau of Labor. So I didn't make up this number. So in 2021, which is last year, the state with the highest employment level in mental health counselor is California. And in 2021, last year, California had nearly 35,000 job opportunities for mental health counselors, okay? And for rehab counselor is projected to grow 10% from 2020 to 2030. While it doesn't grow as fast as mental health counselors, the projected job outlook for rehab counselors still grows as fast as the average for all other occupations, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor. And last year, the state with the highest employment level in rehab counselor also is California. Okay, so last year, California had about 11,000 job openings for rehab counselors. So the projected job outlook in both mental health counselors and rehab counselors is very promising for students who are interested in becoming a rehab counselor or a mental health counselor. Next slide, please.
All right. Thank you so much to our wonderful coordinators and faculty. So we're going to start our frequently asked questions. And in this section, we just want to go over application procedures very briefly, and then also answer the question of what happens when we get a denial letter and what does that mean? And then we'll provide some resources and open the floor up for you. Next slide, April. So here are our application procedures. When you look at this particular slide, one of the biggest things is to remember that you will apply at calstate.edu/apply, and we've outlined the steps for you. Once you choose which program you will apply to, we highly encourage you to remember the discussions around professional identity as you're doing your research, as you're shadowing individuals, volunteer. Do this prior to applying so you can make sure that you have the strongest application possible. And from there will be a section that comes directly to the school, which is the Crimmins School of Education, and you'll have to upload program materials. And you'll see that on the right side of your screen. With those materials, beyond the application and the transcripts, you'll need 3 letters of recommendation. We definitely encourage you to ask individuals who can speak to not only your expertise possibly in the field, but also your work ethic, whether it's a supervisor, a professor, someone who can really speak to your potential as a graduate student, right, in the program. We do like to highlight that although the minimum GPA is 3.0, one thing that we know being in the counseling field is that GPA is not indicative of a good counselor per se. So as we transition to the next slide, please, April. And I say that to say that we have denied students who had 4.0s before, right? One of the things about all 5 of our counseling programs is that we look at this from a holistic perspective. And one thing that Dr. Zhang often says, he's the SACC coordinator, he says it's not a checklist, right? We showed you a checklist, but it's not a checklist. When we sit down and we look at your statement of purpose, your letters of recommendation, we also look at has the individual volunteered and shadowed and taken that advice from Dr. Dediolu? Did they attend the information session? All of these things, because we do see it in the applications. And so we like to say a delay is not a denial. We really encourage students. We don't want you to feel defeated. But our programs are pretty impacted. Let's say you heard Dr. Greaves mention that she admits 18 students, but she receives over 100 applicants. Each program receives over 100 applicants and will not admit over 20 students, okay? So when we use this time to really give you these tips and tricks, please take advantage of them, because we are telling you how you can be most successful applying to our programs. We also encourage you to seek mentorship, whether inside the department or outside of the department, as you're beginning to move forward in this application process. Our program really caters to working professionals. That is often a question. And what does that mean? That means the majority of our students work during the day, so our courses are in the evenings. They typically run from 4 until 6:50. That would be one class once a week. And then we have another block of time from 7 until 9:50. So we do try to take into account specific demographic groups of our students and cater to those needs. Okay, next slide. Oh, it's quick. And so here's some other resources. Many of our prospective students may not realize, but we do have a Division of Research and Graduate Studies. At the Graduate Studies, they do have advisors who are available to answer questions, whether you're seeking information about the Department of Counselor Education or Rehabilitation or the Department of Criminology. We've had students who were dually enrolled in master's programs. You cannot do that with inside our department, but you could potentially do it outside of our department. Okay, and what I mean by that, you could not be enrolled in the Master of Science in Clinical Rehabilitation and Mental Health Counseling and the Masters of Science Option School Counseling. Okay. And so I will pause there, as we have provided a few resources, and we will open the floor up for any additional questions that you may have.
May I ask something?
Absolutely. May you introduce yourself?
Yeliz Keskin Ölmez.
Wonderful. Yes, please.
So much.
Edgar,
And,
we see your hand next.
Actually, I had applied for student affairs counseling program last year. So in the beginning, I actually especially asked via emails that I'm from Turkey. So I graduated from Turkey, a university from Turkey. So I had a green card and I have a residency here, but on your website, it was saying that the TOEFL degree is necessary for international students. But I asked this question especially to the people who works at your office. So am I being taught as an international student? They said no, because you have residency here and you have a green card, and I didn't take the exam. So I didn't have a TOEFL degree, although I completed all the prerequisites you require. So, and I took so many classes from a college in America. Anyway, but at last minute, they said to me, you need a TOEFL degree. So do I need a TOEFL degree right now? They said our policy, because you